welcome Rich Walker.
Hi, Rich.
Hi, Rich.
Hi, Craig. It's great to be here.
Thank you very much for coming on and joining us so we can have a chat about ghost fishing and exactly what you do. Jim, I think you wanted to start off with some questions about how Rich actually just got into diving.
Well, yeah, I mean, you just asked him. So, yeah, Rich, how did it all start for you? I mean, you've obviously been diving a long time, and this is a passion for you, isn't it? So just how it started, really?
Yeah, it is, Jim. I mean, I learned to dive back in 1991, I think, but it's always been something that I wanted to do. My parents were both scuba divers, and I grew up just tripping over dive gear around the house, much like I do in my own house now. And I was always a swimmer, and it was just a natural thing. It was something that I always knew I was going to do. And the opportunity kind of came up in the early 90s, and I jumped on it, really. And I've been diving all around the UK ever since.
Oh, and is the UK your passion, or you go abroad as well?
So I do a lot abroad, but if you have to ask me what kind of a diver I am, I'm a UK wreck diver. I sometimes expand that a bit to say I'm a Northern European wreck diver, but but at the end of the day, this is where I learned to dive. This is what I do. I don't get to do as much of it as I used to because I tend to travel a lot and work abroad a lot. But still, the UK holds some amazing kind of draw for me still to this day.
Yeah, well, we're advocates of UK diving. I mean, there's so many sites here to visit in the UK and dive. It's an amazing place, and there's something for everybody. So, what's your favourite UK dive site then? I guess Scapa Flow.
Well, Scapa Flow is high on the list. I tend to go up there once a year for the last kind of 6-7 years now, and then I was there kind of sporadically before that. But I've really kind of got back into Scapa. But then, I live down in the southwest of England, and the Cornish coast, the Dorset coast is really where I cut my teeth learning to dive. And for 20 years in between that, I lived in Sheffield, and the whole northeast coast, the Farne Islands, St. Abbs, you can't choose between them, really. They're all so different, so diverse, and they've all got something for everybody, like you said earlier.
Yeah, Farne Islands, Jim and I's one of our favourite UK dive sites. We go up there every single year. What about non-UK? Where else in the world would you say, A, perhaps is a favourite dive destination, and B, maybe is on the bucket list that you haven't done yet?
Well, the bucket list is a tricky question, but yeah. some of the highlights, I think I'd say, to just kind of expand a little bit from the UK, going over to the west coast of Norway, to me is spectacular diving. It's wreck diving, the visibility is incredible, and the preservation of the wrecks is out of this world. There's a big kind of historical context to that as well, because most of the wrecks that you dive around the UK are sunk during the wars and sunk by the Germans. But if you go over to Norway, then you get an immense sense of national pride, because most of the wrecks that you come across there were sunk by us during the wars. So same but different. But then
interesting contrast.
It is. Yeah, I love it. I love diving over there. Now you can go further afield than that, and one of the places I do spend a lot of time is out in Croatia. And again, there's lots and lots of wartime wrecks out there. The climate's good, the visibility's good, the environment's a lovely place. And again, the wrecks are relatively intact, apart from the mines that blew them in 2 pieces as a rule. But again, it's just fantastic pieces of history that are there for you to kind of visit. If you're looking for wildlife and kind of coral reef type things, I've found little that betters the Philippines. I mean, the Philippines I've not been for many years, and I do need to go back, but it's one of the places that I always kind of think about when I think about, biodiversity and marine life and that kind of thing. It's just some incredible diving over there, some very, very cool stuff to see. And then I can't really go much further without talking about cave diving as well, because that's another one of my kind of passions, if you like. And I recently went to Mexico, and I always said for a long time I'd go to Mexico when I'm old. Now, you might argue I am old now, so it was about time I went. But but I went to Mexico last year for the first time in reality, and the scenery in those underwater caves is just stunning. And you can do dives that, you know, are not particularly challenging as cave dives go, and just see some things that, you know, will make your jaw drop. Just really quite spectacular places. So
yeah, I was very fortunate to dive in Mexico in the cenotes. What it was 2000 and beginning of 2019, yeah. So last year. It seems ages ago now. But as you say, stunning scenery. I can't wait to go back and dive them again. And that going between fresh water and descending through that thermocline into salt water, and then coming back up is just the strangest experience as a diver that everyone's got to go and experience.
I agree. Yeah, it is a spectacular place.
Yeah,
excellent. So before we get on to obviously ghost fishing UK, what's your most memorable dive that you've done?
Oof, in a good way or a bad way?
I think we should have both, Rich.
Yeah. So, it could, I mean, there's a couple that kind of hit the mark on the most memorable in a good way. I think perhaps this is one from Croatia, diving on a wreck of the HMS Aldenham, which was the last British destroyer sunk in World War II. And to just be on that wreck and the whole history that kind of is entailed with that was just mind-blowing. That was incredible. A wreck dive out in the Baltic called the Mars, which is, you know, several 100-year-old battleship, wooden decks, guns everywhere. And you know that, you know, only 20, 30 people have ever been on that wreck, ever. And then in other good ways, there's another cave that I'm exploring out in Croatia, and me and my partner Christine, you know, we were pushing the front of that line. We were the first humans to ever been there. So again, seeing something that no humans ever seen before is really quite unbelievable. That's a hell of a feeling. Yeah,
that's always a humbling thing, isn't it, to see something like that?
I was just going to say, from perhaps a less positive view, a memorable dive.
I'm an eternal optimist. It's probably something like a dry suit flooding in really cold water, or knowing you've got a long way back to the surface or something like that. I'll be perfectly honest, I try and learn from those events, but I quickly dismiss them as, once I've got the information I need from them, I don't remember them.
That's it.
But they sound familiar.
Yes.
They do sound familiar.
Yeah.
Excellent. So thank you for that.